When life presses down on you, when the weight of circumstances feels almost unbearable, it is in those moments that something remarkable begins to take shape. Adversity is not merely a cruel twist of fate, nor is it simply punishment for your mistakes. It is the forge in which strength is born. It strips you of comfort, it dismantles your illusions, and it places you face with reality. And in that confrontation, you discover that you are stronger than you ever thought possible. Because it is only when everything seems to be falling apart that you truly begin to see what holds you together. People often imagine strength as something visible: muscles, wealth, power, reputation. But real strength, the kind that allows a person to endure and even thrive in the face of unbearable hardship, is invisible. It is woven into your character, into your ability to keep moving forward when every instinct tells you to give up. And the irony is that you will never uncover this strength by living comfortably. You only meet it when life forces you into the fire. That is the paradox of adversity. It feels like destruction, but in reality, it's a revelation. Think back to the times in your life when you thought you couldn't go on. Maybe it was the loss of someone you loved, maybe a betrayal, maybe the collapse of a dream that defined you. At the time, it felt as if life itself had conspired against you. Yet here you are, still standing. Perhaps scarred, perhaps shaken, but alive, and stronger for it. The evidence of your strength is not in what you avoided, but in what you endured. You faced the chaos, you carried the burden, and you walked through it. That strength was always there. Adversity just pulled it out of hiding. The truth is, we spend much of our lives trying to shield ourselves from difficulty, as if life owes us ease. But the reality is, life is suffering. To live is to struggle, and to struggle is to grow. You do not need to seek out suffering. It will find you. But when it comes, you have a choice: collapse under its weight, or rise because of it. And if you dare to rise, if you dare to face the storm rather than run from it, you will find within yourself something you never knew existed. There is a peculiar kind of dignity in this discovery. It's not loud, it's not glamorous, and it doesn't often win applause. But it creates in you a solidity, a depth of being that cannot be faked. You become the kind of person who no longer crumbles at every difficulty, because you've already been through the fire and emerged stronger. You've proven to yourself that you are capable of withstanding more than you ever imagined. That is strength. That is resilience. And that is the gift of adversity. So when life feels unbearable, when you're tempted to cry out that it's too much, remember this. It is in precisely those moments that you are standing at the threshold of transformation. The pain is not meaningless. The struggle is not in vain. It is the process by which you come to know yourself, by which you discover just how much potential lies dormant inside you. The storm may rage, the world may shake, but you are stronger than you think. And when you rise from the ruins, when you stand again after everything tried to break you, you will understand the truth. Adversity did not defeat you. It revealed you. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise around them becomes deafening voices of doubt, criticism, comparison, and judgment pressing in on every side. The world at times seems almost eager to remind you of your limitations, of your failures, of the reasons why you should not dare to try. And if you listen too closely, if you allow that chorus of doubt to become the soundtrack of your mind, you will shrink. You will stop before you've even begun. But if there is one truth that carries a person through the darkest and most uncertain of times, it is this: self. Belief is your greatest weapon. Believing in yourself does not mean arrogance, and it does not mean blind optimism. It means recognizing that within you there exists a potential that has not yet been fully called forth. It means knowing that you can take another step forward even when fear insists you cannot. Self-belief is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Because when the storms of life come, when circumstances collapse, you may be left standing alone. And in that silence, when no one else comes to lift you, the only voice that can carry you forward is the one inside your own head whispering, "You can do this. Keep going." Consider for a moment what happens when you don't believe in yourself. Every obstacle becomes insurmountable, every setback becomes proof of inadequacy, every criticism becomes a death sentence to your spirit. Without belief, you surrender before the battle has even begun, but belief changes everything. It does not erase the challenge, but it transforms the way you engage with it. It turns failure into feedback, rejection into redirection, pain into the fuel of endurance. Self-belief arms you with the courage to step into the unknown and to keep moving, even when you cannot yet see the finish line. You have to understand that the human mind is a battlefield, and the fiercest battle is not with the world outside, but with the doubts within. People will tell you that you're not enough, that your dreams are unrealistic, that the odds are stacked against you. And maybe they're right about the odds, but the odds have never defined human potential. History itself is a testament to the power of self-belief. Every invention, every revolution, every work of greatness was born from someone who dared to trust their capacity in spite of overwhelming resistance. The truth is, no one can hand you belief. No mentor, no friend, no applause from the crowd can sustain it for long. It has to come from within. You have to cultivate it like a discipline, strengthening it through small acts of courage, proving to yourself each day that you are capable of more than you thought yesterday. And the more you choose to believe, the more evidence you create to justify that belief. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Step by step, you build not just confidence, but character. This does not mean that you will not stumble, or that self-belief makes you immune to suffering. But it does mean that when you stumble, you will rise quicker. When you suffer, you will endure longer. When you fail, you will not see it as the end, but as part of the path. Because belief in yourself allows you to interpret difficulty not as a signal to stop, but as a call to grow. So when you are pressed to your limits, when doubt roars louder than your courage, remember this: the most powerful tool you will ever possess is not wealth, status, or even opportunity. It is the conviction that you are capable of withstanding whatever comes, and of shaping your life through persistence and faith in your own potential. Hold on to that belief with everything you have, because when all else is stripped away, it will be the weapon that carries you forward. When the weight of life grows heavy, when you feel worn down and stretched to the breaking point, it is not strength alone that keeps you moving forward. It is purpose. Strength without meaning eventually runs dry. Discipline without direction eventually collapses. But when you anchor your struggle to something larger than yourself, when you connect your suffering to a vision of why it matters, you find that you can endure far more than you ever thought possible. Pain without purpose is unbearable. It feels random, cruel, meaningless. It turns into despair because you see no reason to carry it. But once you frame that same pain within the context of meaning, it changes everything. A parent will endure sleepless nights, endless sacrifice, and crushing responsibility for the sake of their child. A student will suffer years of difficulty and exhaustion for the sake of mastering a craft. A person fighting illness will push through the torment of treatment if they believe there's something worth living for on the other side. The pain doesn't disappear, it's still real, it still hurts. But when it serves a purpose, it no longer owns you. You see, human beings are not built merely to survive. We are built to strive towards something greater. When life knocks you down, if your only goal is to avoid suffering, you will quickly run out of reasons to keep going. But if you tie your endurance to something noble, something that calls you upward, then you can face trials that would otherwise break you. You can carry weight not because it is light, but because it is meaningful. That difference transforms despair into determination. Ask yourself, what is your purpose? What makes the struggle worthwhile? If you don't know, life will feel unbearable because difficulty without meaning is chaos. But once you clarify your purpose, even if it is imperfect, even if it is small at first, you will discover a reservoir of endurance within you. The nights of doubt become training grounds, the setbacks become steps on the path, the failures become part of the story you are writing. Purpose turns what looks like punishment into preparation, and here's the hard truth. You will not find your purpose by hiding from pain. You will not discover it by chasing comfort or distraction. It emerges when you confront the chaos, when you ask yourself, what am I willing to suffer for? What is worth the sacrifice? What meaning can I create in this storm? The answer to that question will be your compass. And once you have a compass, no matter how difficult the road becomes, you will always know why you are walking it. In those moments when you're tempted to quit, when fatigue whispers in your ear that it would be easier to give up, you will remember what's at stake. You will remember who is counting on you, what dream is waiting for you, what version of yourself you are building through this struggle. That memory, that vision, will breathe endurance into your weary soul. You will find yourself capable of carrying more than you thought, not because the burden grew lighter, but because the purpose grew heavier. So when life becomes unbearable, don't just ask how you can escape it, ask what it means. Ask why it matters that you keep going. Anchor your pain to something larger than the pain itself, and you will endure, because purpose transforms suffering into sacrifice, and sacrifice into strength. With purpose, you are unstoppable. Without it, even the smallest hardship will break you. Never forget, meaning is the fuel of endurance, and with it, you can outlast the storm. We often imagine progress as some grand leap forward, a single moment that transforms everything, the breakthrough that changes the course of our lives. But in reality, progress rarely arrives with trumpets and celebration. It is far quieter, far less dramatic, and far more demanding. True progress is built in the small, often invisible steps that you take day after day. It is born not from sudden bursts of inspiration, but from the steady discipline of showing up, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one else notices. When life is hard, it's tempting to believe that you need some massive change to break free. You look at the mountain before you and feel overwhelmed by its size. You think, how could I ever climb that? But the truth is, no one climbs a mountain in a single bound. They do it step by step, one foot in front of the other, often with aching muscles and trembling legs. And though it feels slow, though it feels almost pointless in the moment, those small steps are what carry you to the summit. It is the same with every battle you face. If you want to rebuild your life after loss, if you want to recover from failure, if you want to transform despair into hope, you must learn to honor the power of small steps. One choice today to rise instead of give up, one act of discipline instead of surrender, one moment of courage in the face of fear. None of these steps on their own may feel like much, but strung together over time, they create momentum. And momentum builds change. Think of the alternative. If you focus only on the distance between where you are and where you want to be, you will be paralyzed. The gap will seem too wide, the road too long. That kind of thinking kills progress before it even begins. But if you narrow your vision to the step in front of you, the one thing you can do right now, you discover that change is possible. You no longer carry the weight of the entire journey, only the responsibility of this moment. That shift in perspective is what allows you to move forward, even under the heaviest burdens. Every great accomplishment is the accumulation of countless small acts. The writer finishes the book not by dreaming of the completed manuscript, but by writing a single page each day. The athlete wins the race not by imagining the medal, but by training when no one is watching. The broken soul rebuilds not by waiting for life to magically improve, but by choosing each day to stand a little taller, to take a single step out of despair. That is how progress is made incrementally, persistently, humbly. And here is the beauty of it. Once you commit to the discipline of steady progress, you begin to see evidence that you can change. That evidence feeds belief, belief feeds action, and action fuels endurance. It becomes a cycle that transforms your life from the ground up. One day you will look back and realize that the mountain you thought was impossible has been climbed not because of one giant leap, but because of the steps you refuse to stop taking. So do not despise small beginnings. Do not overlook the quiet discipline of today because you are obsessed with the distant reward of tomorrow. The steps may be small, but they are not insignificant. They are the only path forward, and if you keep moving one step at a time, you will eventually arrive where you are meant to be. Progress is not an explosion. It is a steady march, and that march will carry you out of despair and into the life you are striving to build. Failure is a word that strikes fear into almost everyone. It carries with it the sting of disappointment, the weight of shame, and the echo of voices sometimes your own, telling you that you weren't enough. And yet, if you step back and look closely, failure is not the monster you've been taught to fear. It is not the end of the road. More often than not, it is the beginning of something greater. It is the doorway through which growth enters your life, if you are courageous enough to walk through it. You see, failure reveals truths that success often hides. When things go well, you can be lulled into comfort, believing you have mastered more than you actually have. But when you fail, the illusion shatters. The weakness is exposed, the gaps become visible, and reality confronts you. That confrontation can feel brutal, but it is also a gift because it shows you exactly where you need to grow. Failure is information. It is feedback written in bold letters across the canvas of your life. It does not tell you that you are finished. It tells you where to begin again, but wiser. Every person who has accomplished anything meaningful has walked through failure. The inventor whose design collapsed, the student who stumbled through exams, the artist whose work was rejected again and again, the parent who made mistakes and had to learn humility. These are not stories of defeat. They are stories of resilience. What separates those who rise from those who stay fallen is not the absence of failure, but their response to it. Do you collapse under its weight? Or do you extract from it the lessons that sharpen your character? There is a profound transformation that happens when you stop seeing failure as a verdict and start seeing it as a teacher. It no longer becomes the proof of your inadequacy, but the training ground of your strength. Each mistake becomes a stepping stone, each rejection a redirection, each loss a lesson that chisels you into someone stronger. Growth is almost always disguised as failure in its early stages, and only those who persist long enough see the difference. But here is the challenge. Failure demands humility. It forces you to admit that you don't yet know enough, that you aren't yet who you need to be. That humility stings, but it also cracks you open to learning, to adaptation, to growth. Without it, you stagnate, trapped in the illusion of perfection. With it, you evolve, becoming someone who can withstand more, achieve more, and contribute more. Think of it this way. A tree grows strongest not in still air, but in the presence of wind that challenges it. Muscles grow not from ease, but from resistance. In the same way, your character, your resilience, your wisdom, they grow through the resistance of failure. What feels like a dead end is often the very pressure that shapes you into who you are meant to become. So, when you fail, and you will, do not let the story end there. Do not allow the weight of disappointment to convince you that you are finished. Instead, SOMETHING, eyes recognize your to-do. This is the beginning of a deeper process. This is the moment when you are given the opportunity to rewrite your story with more courage, more wisdom, and more strength than before. Failure is not the end of the road. It is the curve in the path that leads you toward growth. Embrace it, learn from it, and rise because of it. Because every failure carries within it the seed of transformation, and it is only by tending to that seed that you will discover who you are truly capable of becoming. There is a version of you that does not yet exist, a future self who is waiting on the choices you make today. That person is shaped by every decision, every action, every refusal to quit when life pressed hardest against you. The truth is, your future self is counting on you. And whether that self becomes stronger, wiser, and more resilient, or broken, bitter, and resentful, depends on how you respond in the present moment. When life gets difficult, it's easy to collapse into short-term thinking. You tell yourself, I just need to escape this pain, I just need relief right now. And so you cut corners, you surrender your standards, you give up the fight. But what feels like relief in the moment often becomes regret later. The future, you will have to carry the consequences of the decisions you make today. And just as surely, that same future, you will also inherit the strength and wisdom gained by your persistence. You are building someone's life your own, and every day is a brick laid in its foundation. Think about it this way. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from now. What would you want that person to say to you? Would you want them to thank you for enduring, for not giving up, for carrying the weight so that they could stand taller? Or would you want them to look back in disappointment, knowing you surrendered their potential to fear, laziness, or despair? That imagined conversation with your future self should shake you awake, because it reveals what's truly at stake. You are not just enduring for today. You are enduring for the life you are building tomorrow. This perspective changes everything. Suddenly, the small step you take today matters, because you know it multiplies over time. The discipline you build, the resilience you develop, the lessons you learn, they all accumulate, and the compound interest of those efforts becomes your future reality. One day, you'll be living inside the consequences of the choices you're making now. That truth should sober you, but it should also inspire you, because it means you hold in your hands the ability to shape a future you are proud to inhabit. And here's the extraordinary part. The more you fight for your future self, the more meaning you find in your present struggles. The pain becomes tolerable when you realize it is not wasted. It is being invested into someone stronger, someone who can bear more, someone who can stand in the storms of life without collapsing. You realize that your suffering today is not just something to survive, but something that transforms you into a person who no longer fears the fire, because they've already been through it. But it requires courage. It requires you to say, I will not betray my future for the sake of momentary comfort. It requires you to see past the fog of today's hardship, and remember that there is a person waiting for you on the other side of this trial. That person is wiser because you didn't quit. That person is freer because you endured. That person is grateful because you carried the weight they could not. So, in the moments when you are tempted to break, when you are tempted to abandon yourself, remember this. Your future self is counting on you. Do not abandon them. Do not leave them weaker, smaller, or broken because you chose the easy way out. Live today with the awareness that every action echoes into tomorrow. Carry your burden with strength, and when the day comes that you meet the person you are becoming, you will stand tall in the knowledge that you did not fail them. When life becomes unbearable, when the weight of hardship feels more than you can carry, you are faced with a choice. You can surrender to despair, or you can rise with courage. And rising is not about pretending the pain isn't real. It is about recognizing that adversity reveals your strength, that belief in yourself is the greatest weapon you possess, that purpose transforms suffering into endurance, that progress is made through small but steady steps, that failure is not your end but the beginning of growth, and that your future self is depending on you to stand firm in this moment. The storms of life will come, and they will come again, but you are not powerless. You are not a victim of chaos. You are capable of withstanding more than you imagine, of carrying meaning through suffering, and of transforming every fall into a step towards something greater. So do not retreat. Do not shrink back into the shadows of despair. Face the struggle with the knowledge that every breath you take in defiance of hardship is a declaration of strength. You are not merely surviving, you are becoming. And if you keep going, if you refuse to quit, you will discover that even in the darkest valleys, the light within you is enough to guide the way forward. Your life is waiting. Stand tall, endure the storm, and believe in yourself, because the world has not yet seen the full measure of who you can become.